Right, today I'm going to explain to you what the hinge and swing drill is, how it can help you, and how you can take it to the golf course to improve. So yes, we're talking about the backswing today and a drill that I call the hinge and swing. Now this is fantastic to help you with the shape of your backswing and also a little bit of the structure of your arms as well, which can give you certainly more consistency, often more distance, and certainly straighter shots as well. Now this is going to help your ball striking, but if you'd like a little bit more help with your ball striking, I'd love you to head over to my website. It's linked up in the corner here. There's a training course there called Ultimate Ball Striking, a 4-part series, over 60 minutes of content, really going to help you strike the ball better right through the bag, wedges through to drive. I'd love you to check that out. Now, before we get started, I'd also love you to head down into the comments box. I do try and respond to as many of the comments as I can. So if you've got any questions you'd like me to answer, whether it's about this exercise, this drill, or just the golf swing in general, drop down there, drop your comments in there, and I'll get back to you when I can. So what is the hinge and swing drill and how is it going to help you? Well, let's go ahead and just do the little exercise first, and then we'll run through exactly why it's going to be beneficial to you. So from a setup, I'm going to keep the grip end of the club as still as I can, and I'm going to raise the club head up until it's level with my hand. So there's the hinge element. From here, very simply, I'm going to make a golf swing. Okay, so it might take you, a few swings to get used to that and get comfortable with that, because it is going to feel a little bit strange starting from that position. But let's run through why this might be beneficial to you. So in every golf swing, with all clubs right through the bag, we need to have the wrists moving in this direction. Now they don't move at the setup, why that might look a little strange, but during the backswing, we certainly want some of those wrists working up this way. Now that's where we start to potentially encounter the first problem. Many golfers, when they try to set the wrists, will actually see the arm structure break down a little bit. As they start to try and work the club head up, we often see that bending from the lead arm. It doesn't come from the right area in the wrist. These golfers who tend to get a little bit narrow often find like a distance, like a consistency, and the golf swing often feels a little bit cramped. So taking that wrist hinge and using it at the setup means that we can start to isolate that movement. We can create the correct angle through the wrist, but keep that lead arm nice and straight. When we start to make our backswing, we're then creating this really nice structured arm position. So, if you're a golfer who's videoed your golf swing potentially, you see your arms very narrow at the top, very cramped at the top, left arm broken down a little bit. This is going to be a great exercise for you to do at the driving range to really start to sense what a more structured arm position will be like. The other real benefit to this exercise, it really helps with the shape of the golf swing. By far the most common shape of backswing that we see, which is at fault, is when the club head tends to roll a little bit inside this way. Club head tends to get a little bit too far behind the golfer and often stays too low to the ground for too long. Just watch what happens when I create that hinge at setup and then I start to make my backswing. We get the complete opposite. The club head is much higher, it's a little bit more out in front of me, and we would often class this as a steeper club shaft position during the backswing. Now, if you take a kind of average elite golfer, you're often going to see the backswing being much, much steeper than what you would tend to see from the amateur golfer. So if we put those two movements together, a really sort of poor backswing that you may have videoed your golf swing and seen these faults would be when the club head rolls inside, and then as you start to hinge the wrists, you get this kind of very narrow lead arm position. And from there, yes, you can hit good golf shots, but you've just made it incredibly difficult. This hinge and swing exercise is really, really going to help you create some good feels around that. So let's do that again. I'm going to take a setup, keep the grip of the club as still as I can, use the wrists to hinge the club up, and then from there, we're going to go ahead and swing through and hit. Now, to me, that feels very different, but different in a good way, because I am that golfer who tends to roll the club a little bit inside and tends to get a little flat. So this is certainly an exercise that I would do in practice to, start to create some good ideas about what I want in the backswing. When we look back at this on video, we're possibly going to see a backswing that's a little bit extreme. This isn't going to get you into the perfect position, but it's a great exercise to give you the right feels, to give you the right ideas about what you should be doing in your backswing to improve those things that we've spoken about. So how would you ultimately take that to the course? Because, we've explained that this is a drill. What can you do on the course to try and transition it to help you play better golf? Well, if we do that little exercise again and we start to swing back, notice where the grip of the club points. It points down toward my right pocket or possibly out behind my heels. So when we're on the golf course, imagine that you have got a tee in the end of your club. And what we're going to get you to do is feel that when you make your backswing, you point the tee down at the ground and behind you. Again, that common fault of that club rolling inside gets that tee pointing certainly more out in front of me, if not a little bit up as well. So the feeling on the golf course and how you transition this exercise to the course will be in your backswing. Try and get the tee to point down at the ground and behind you. Down at the ground means you're starting to use the wrists, and behind you means that you're starting to create that nicer steep angle going back. So on the course, tee goes down at the ground and behind me. So if you feel like you struggle with any of those movements we talked about, those collapsed arms, that club that's rolling inside, the hinge and swing drill is a great one for you to work out at the range to improve your golf game. Hope that helps. Let me know in the comments box. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. That really does help me. And I really believe that these videos can help you reach your potential playing better golf. So I'd love you to be a subscriber. There's a link up in the corner. There's one down in the description box as well. Hit those and you'll be notified each time I do release a video. Thanks for watching, and we'll hopefully see you back here again soon.